Welcome to Punky's. Oh my god. Scratch that. Welcome to Kidmissing TV. I am your host, Angelina Wilson. Before I get to today's show, I have been meaning to tell you about these playing cards. Now, we've talked about playing cards that are given out to inmates and stuff like that. Well, these are very similar. They're from Kidmissing, and they're these are sexual assault cards. And I thought they were cool in the sense that it's a good way to teach. These are just the jokers. Again, these are called, they are printed in the USA, plastic coated, like I said, Kidmissing. I am not sure. They're called Hurts One Affects All. No means no. And the safe helpline is written on it. If you've been sexually assaulted. This, I think these are cards for workplaces. It's a great teaching tool. I can't read them to you because of YouTube's weirdness, but I can show you the front with the phone number and everything on it. I think these were meant to give out in a workplace because there were some things talking about teammates. So they're very interesting, and I think that they're important. So when I picked them up free at the yard sale, I wanted to show them to you guys during one of our videos, and I kept forgetting to. Like I said, Kidmissing, G-E-M-A-C-O. I will try to find a link to these and put them in the description. Now for the video. Katherine Hull was born in 1914 and was killed on April 2nd, 1936. She was 22 years old. She was from Syracuse, New York. She disappeared from Lebanon Springs, New York on April 2nd. She was visiting her grandmother and set out for a walk and was last seen hitchhiking, which has not been verified. Hold on. That's not that. There we go. Her parents separated in 1926, and Hull lived in Syracuse with her mother, older sister, and her maternal grandmother. She was a trained stenographer, just like her older sister was. She went with her father to visit her paternal grandmother in New Lebanon, and decided to go out for a walk. She was going to spend the summer with her grandmother in Lebanon Springs. She planned to return before evening. She'd gone out just after luncheon, which would be lunch. It might even be brunch. You know, that time period. She was wearing a blue dress, a gray sports sweater, black low shoes with rubber overshoes, dark stockings, a green coat with a fur collar, and a brown tam o' shanter. I have no idea what that is. She had her handbag. She had brown hair worn in a bob, hazel eyes, was 5 feet 6 inches tall, 135 pounds. She was a serious religious young woman who rarely smiled. Her father said she had considered joining an Episcopalian religious order at one point. A group of hunters, or a hunting party, found her remains on December 8, 1943, near the New York State border on the western slope of West Mountain in Hancock, Massachusetts. It's just a few miles from where she disappeared, because it was halfway between the top of the mountain and Lebanon Springs Road. They could not determine for sure whether she had been murdered. Her sister, Marjorie, left in her will at the time of her death in 1996 $350,000 to Clarkson University in Potsdam, New York, for a scholarship fund to be established in honor of her parents and sister. The Harry and Florence P. Hull and Catherine E. Hull Endowed Scholarship Fund was to award scholarships to qualified undergraduate students in the college's engineering program. And then they go on to talk about the cases of Paula Jean Weldon and Connie Smith. We're not going to go into great detail because we already have. Um, Initially, when Catherine's remains were found, it was her skull, and the hunter was he said he was just frozen petrified, which makes sense. Then he called the rest of his hunting party over and they started digging and found more bones. Um, and now, um, there is a description of her personality, and I think it's important because we don't often get these from one of the flyers, or what they describe as a circular, which is a flyer. Um, Very quiet, seldom smiles, concentrates deeply. Religious, cannot be drawn out in conversation, not apt to talk about herself or confide in anyone. Very polite and well mannered, quite attractive, but sober faced, very neat in her dress and appearance. Any peculiar traits are not objectionable, and is a girl who could not be disliked. If seen on the street, she walks quite fast with a peculiar up and down motion, walks with eyes straight ahead, as if sighting something in the distance and hurrying to get there. Now, they had problems getting her dental records because the 3 dentists she had had over her lifetime, um, one retired and moved away, one died, and one had been murdered. But they were able to put together enough scraps of dental records to say that it removed all doubt that these remains were Katherine Hull. They should do DNA just to be sure, but uh, um, interestingly, they mentioned Michael Dooling, who's a news librarian and son of a state police detective in Connecticut. Sees similarities between the 1946 disappearance of Paula Jean Weldon, 40 miles north in Bennington, and that of Connie Smith, who went missing in 52, between Salisbury and Lakeville in Connecticut. And of course, they talk about his book, Clueless in New England. Why do I say this is interesting? Because I had the opportunity to interview Michael C. Dooling on my podcast. Unfortunately, it's one of the ones that they decided to delete. Anyway, um, like I said, it's interesting to me because I had the opportunity to interview him and we talked about all 3 cases. I wish I still had the interview, but yeah, we can thank Blog Talk for that. I am so glad I switched. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining me. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. We need 3 more subscribers to make it to 500. Then we'll set a goal of 1,000, at which point we can go live. I think we can be monetized. So it will be amazing. And I'm hoping to do that before the end of the year. Although it's almost October, so if we can do that by New Year's, that would be amazing. But it depends on how long it takes us to get these last 3 subscribers to make 500. If it takes us longer than the next month or so, I'll probably push the 1,000 back to like Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day, something like that. So we'll just have to see. Again, thank you so much for joining me. God bless you. I will link the playing cards, and I will link Michael C. Dooling's book because I have read it myself. And like I said, I had the opportunity to interview him, and unfortunately, it's one they chose to delete. So if they had just told me, because I assumed when they said that they were going to delete them, that, to make room for the next case, that I would still have access to my material. It makes sense. They should have been much more clear. Anyway, that's not your concern, I suppose. And the last 3 or so of Crimes Forgotten by Time have been cases that I have covered on this channel, and I highly recommend that you watch her take on them because we all do, in this genre, we all tend to cover the same cases sometimes. Sometimes there's overlap, but that's good. I don't believe in, oh, you can't do that because I did that. That's ridiculous. I get ideas from other channels. And that's fine. I'm not saying she got those ideas from this channel at all. She does her own research, just like I do my own research. I've gotten ideas from her channel, but I'll do my own research. And by having more than one channel covering a case, you get to see 2 different people's perspectives. You get to see what research 2 different people came up with that may not be the same and probably isn't going to be the same. And that's a good thing. And I want to thank her for that. Like I said, I believe in, if I see a case that I'm interested in, doing my own research to do the case. I'm not going to just regurgitate what Gabulosis or Georgia Marie or whomever said about a case. I'm going to research it for myself. And that's what she does. So head on over there and check it out. I'm a couple behind because I've had a lot going on, but I definitely want to watch them. So, thank you so much. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you Wednesday. Bye, guys.